Hey guys, come on downstairs. We're bringing a little NCAA Football 14 content to you today in Mama's Basement. It is week 8 of our Cal State Fullerton Titans Dynasty. We're in year number 1, and let's preview the week that we played the Hawaii Warriors, starting with the new Top 25 Coaches Poll. Clemson still in at number 1. They beat Boston College. This week, they host 19th ranked Florida State. Number 2, Ohio State beat Maryland. They will host Iowa this week. Utah moves to 6-0 with a win over Stanford. They will be at Arizona this week. Nebraska 6-0 beat Purdue. They are off. And number 5, Georgia 4-1 beat Missouri. And they will be on the road in Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. Let's move to 6 through 10. Number 6, the Alabama Crimson Tide 6-1. They beat Kentucky 38-10. They will host Arkansas this week. Number 7, undefeated Virginia beat Wake Forest 20-10. They will host Duke. Number 8, Oregon 4-1. They beat Washington 20-16. They will host Wazoo this week. Number 9, Florida 5-1. Lost to LSU. Florida's first loss of the season. They'll be at Missouri this week. Number 10, Oklahoma fell to Texas. Their first loss of the season, and they will try to get things right at Kansas this week. Number 11, Penn State beat Michigan 24-10. They're 5-1. They're off this week. Number 12, Notre Dame 4-2. They had a bye. They will host USC. Stanford lost to Utah. They will host UCLA this week. Auburn beat Youngstown State. They will be at number 16, Texas A&M. Number 15, Michigan lost to Penn State, and they will host Indiana this week. Number 16, Texas A&M at 7-1 beat Ole Miss. They will host the Auburn Tigers this week. LSU, number 17 at 4-2, beat Florida 31-28. They'll be at Ole Miss this week. Number 18, Memphis. After a win over Houston, they move up into the top 20. They're 5-0, and they will host SMU this week. Florida State, we mentioned them. They had a bye last week to prepare for this game against number 1 Clemson that's coming up this week. Michigan State at 5-1 beat Indiana. They'll host winless Purdue this week. Number 21, Washington at 4-2. They lost to Oregon. They will be at Arizona State. 22, Central Florida, UCF 5-1. They beat Rutgers 48-0. They will be at Tulsa this week. Iowa 5-2 beat Illinois 38-17, and they will be at number 2 Ohio State. Texas 4-2 beat Oklahoma, and they have the week off. Miami moves into the top 25 at 4-2. They have the week off, and they will play North Carolina this week. All right, let's look at some conference standings, starting with the independents. Army at 4-1, Notre Dame at 4-2, New Mexico State is 3-4, we are 2-3, Pacific is 2-4, and BYU is 1-5. Let's move to the ACC. Clemson and Florida State headed for that huge showdown this week. Both teams are undefeated in conference play, and both teams are undefeated overall. Wake Forest and Syracuse are 2-2 in the conference. North Carolina State, Boston College, and Louisville have yet to win an ACC game on the season. Let's move to the Coastal Division, where Virginia is 3-0 in conference play, 6-0 overall. Virginia Tech 3-1 in conference play. They're 5-2 overall. Duke at 2-2 and 4-3. Miami is 1-2 and 4-2. North Carolina 2-2 and 4-3. They should actually be up in 4th. My bad there. Pittsburgh at 1-3. Georgia Tech 1-3. And let's look at the American Athletic Conference. Memphis 3-0, 5-0 overall. Cincinnati undefeated, 5-0 overall. Houston 2-1, 5-1 overall. That's about as tough of a top 3 as you can get in any conference in the country right there. That's going to be competitive all the way down to the end of the season. Tulane, not a bad team either, at 3-2. They're 4-2 overall. East Carolina and Connecticut bring up the rear there. Tulsa 3-1, 5-1 overall. UCF 2-1, 4-1 overall. SMU's 1-1, they're 2-3 overall. Temple 1-2, 2-3. South Florida 1-3, 2-4. Navy 0-4 and 1-4. So that is the American Athletic Conference. Big 12. Oklahoma State, the only undefeated team left in conference play now that Oklahoma fell to Texas last week. Oklahoma 2-0, 3-2 Oklahoma State 2-0, 3-2 overall. Oklahoma 3-1, 6-1 overall. All right, let's take a look now at the Big Ten East Division. Ohio State 3-0, 6-0 overall. Penn State 3-0 in conference. They're 5-1 overall. Michigan State and Michigan are both 2-1 in conference play. Maryland is at 2-2. Rutgers is 1-3, and Indiana is 0-3 in Big Ten play. Let's move to the West Division now. Nebraska, 3-0, 6-0 overall, one of the few remaining undefeated teams in the country. Iowa, 3-1, 5-2 overall. Minnesota, 2-2, 4-3 overall. Northwestern, 1-2, they're 3-3. Wisconsin, having a rough year so far, 1-3, 3-3 overall. Purdue, still winless on the season, and Illinois winless in the conference. Conference USA, Florida Atlantic, 4-0 in conference, 5-1 overall. Old Dominion, undefeated in conference, they're 4-2. UTSA, 2-0 in Conference USA play, they're 3-3. FIU, 1-1, they're 4-1. They lost their first game of the season this week. Louisiana Tech, 1-1, 2-3. Middle Tennessee hasn't played a game yet. Nobody else has won a game in conference. Some action in the East Division. Buffalo, Miami of Ohio, both undefeated in conference play. Buffalo is 3-3. Miami of Ohio started out the season 0-4. They've now won 3 in a row, all conference games, to improve to 3-4. Kent State is 3-1 in the conference, 4-3 overall. And let's look at the West Division of the MAC. Ball State and Toledo, both 2-1, tied for the lead in the division. Eastern Michigan is 1-1. NIU 0-2, 1-4. We play NIU a little bit later in the season. Western Michigan 0-3, 1-6 in conference. Central Michigan 0-3, 1-6. Overall, Western Michigan is 1-6 overall. The Mountain West, Boise State falls to 2-2. Colorado State 2-0, 4-2 overall. Wyoming 2-1, 3-4 overall. Utah State 2-1, 5-2 overall. Boise State, as we mentioned before, they fall. New Mexico 1-1, 2-4 overall. San Diego State 2-0, San Jose State 2-1. UNLV 1-1, Hawaii and Nevada both 2-2, and Fresno State is 0-2. They're having a rough season after almost beating Colorado earlier in the year. We saw that one. They had Colorado right on the ropes and then let them off the hook. All right, let's go to the Pac-12. Oregon 3-0, they're 4-1 overall. Stanford 4-1 in conference, 6-1 overall. Oregon State and Washington State both 2-2 in Pac-12 play. Washington at 1-2, and Cal at 1-3. Cal is 2-4 overall. Washington is 4-2 overall, but they're struggling once the schedule has turned to conference play. Utah undefeated still at 6-0. They're 3-0 in conference play. Arizona State 2-1, 3-2 in conference play. UCLA 1-2, USC 1-2, Arizona 0-2, Colorado 0-3. Utah might run away with this division if one of these teams doesn't start asserting itself as a challenger to the Utes. Georgia at 4-0 in conference. Florida loses their first conference game, so Georgia's the only team left that's undefeated in SEC play in the East Division. They would have been the odds-on favorite to win it going into the season, with Florida being their number one competition. Those two teams still play each other later in the season. Both teams are 5-1 overall. The West Division, Texas A&M at 3-1. They're 7-1 overall. Auburn is 2-2 in conference. Alabama is 3-1. Alabama should probably be listed up there at number 2. I don't know what I was doing there. So yeah, Alabama should be number 2. Auburn should be number 3. LSU also at 2-2. Mississippi State at 1-1. Arkansas 1-3. Ole Miss 1-3. To the Sun Belt we go. Georgia State 1-0, 4-2 overall. Louisiana 1-0, 4-1 overall. South Alabama 2-0, 2-3. Arkansas State 1-0 and 2-4 in conference. And then Texas State and Western Kentucky, the two teams that are on our schedule out of the Sun Belt, are both 1-1 in conference play, and neither of them have a winning record as of yet. All right, here's what our undefeateds look like coming into week number 8. Is your school there, and did they make the cut after week number 7 was finished? We lost a lot of schools. We're down to just a handful. Sorry, Florida State should still be up there. My bad. Florida State should still be up there. They're still undefeated. I don't know why I lost Florida State. All right, let's jump into our Hawaii Warriors preview. Let's start off by looking at some of the top players for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, starting with their quarterback, redshirt junior Cole McDonald. His strengths: he has great pocket escapability, accuracy, good ball security. He has adequate arm strength that's not overly great, and he is pretty elusive in open field. His weaknesses: well, he's not Big Ben. If you get a paw on him, he's going down. Quick feet, but not a fast runner. Sometimes he struggles reading the defenses. Those are the knocks on Cole McDonald. Fred Hawley, their running back, he is dangerous in the screen game. They don't run the football a ton. He has great acceleration, doesn't fumble, good vision. He's elusive in the open field. He doesn't break many tackles, though. He does struggle in pass protection. and he doesn't really have home run speed. He's got 319 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. Cedric Byrd. This guy has a Jerry Rice type game, meaning he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's an excellent route runner and has soft hands. He can make spectacular catches in coverage, and he has a really good release. Some of his weaknesses, he can get dinged up. He's not the fastest guy on the field, as I mentioned, and he's not a great jump ball catcher. But I expect Cedric Byrd to be in the NFL. JoJo Ward. Catching in traffic, excellent route runner. He breaks tackles. He's good in the open field. He's a smart football player. His weaknesses, he doesn't jump for jump balls. He doesn't have really big top-end speed, and he is a little bit injury prone. So that's the knock on Hawaii's wide receivers. They don't really have home run speed, but they have a knack for getting open. All right, Kaimana Padello. This guy's going to play in the NFL. He explodes off the line for a defensive end. He's a great tackler. His best moves are his finesse moves. He's smart. His awareness is great. He thinks the game. Good pursuit. Some of his weaknesses is his strength and his power moves, and sometimes he can get caught up on blocks. Free safety, Ikem Okike. Senior, has great closing speed. He's just as good at man coverage as he is at zone. He's very good on the blitz. He is Steve Atwater. He'll come up and lay the lumber on running backs or whoever he possibly can. Good in pursuit. He's a little bit susceptible to pass or to play action, and he's not a really great block shedder. All right, those are some of the key players for Hawaii. How did Hawaii get to where they're at? Well, week number 1, they hosted the USC Trojans, if you remember, out on the islands. USC jumped out to an early 7-0 lead, and then later in the first, USC again knocking on the door down inside the 5 off the blitz. They hook up for the touchdown. They go for a 2-point conversion for whatever reason. I don't know, and they make it. It's 15-0 USC. And that's when Hawaii's offense starts throwing the vertical passes. Cedric Byrd with the touchdown there, making it 15-7. Here's Cole McDonald again, going down the left side. And I believe this is Cedric Byrd again. And you can see he didn't quite pull away. That breakaway speed not there. He gets caught from behind. 2nd down and goal. Cole McDonald under pressure moves out of the pocket and completes a pass down to the goal line. On 3rd down and goal, the pitch off the left side to Fred Hawley, and he is stopped. And Hawaii has to settle for a field goal, making it 15-10. Midway through the 2nd quarter, Cole McDonald stepping up in the pocket, launching one deep down the left side. It's a little bit underthrown, but it's caught by Cedric Byrd, who had an absolutely huge game. On 3rd down and goal, a chance for Hawaii to take the lead here. Cole McDonald pulls it down, but he is caught. And Hawaii has to kick another field goal. It's 15-13 late in the 2nd quarter when USC strikes for another touchdown, making it 22-13. Now 22-16 in the 3rd. And USC scores again, making it 28-16. And now 29-16 after the PAT. Then USC back corner of the end zone starts to break the game open early in the 4th quarter. 36-16 Trojans lead. Another touchdown for the Trojans makes it 43-16. And then the USC quarterback, my mind's drawing a blank on his name. He's the one that in real life transferred to Boise State. And I can't think of his name to save my life. So a huge touchdown run for USC's quarterback makes it 50-16, and that is how the game would end. So Hawaii didn't get off to a great start on the season. Then they went on the road to Corvallis, another Pac-12 team, and lost 47-35. So they started their year 0-2. And then on their way back to Hawaii, they stopped in Reno and got a win, 39-23 over the Nevada Wolfpack. And then they got their 2nd win in a row back home against Fresno State, 38-31. So at this point, they are 2-2 in the season, and they're 2-0 in Mountain West play when they host San Jose State, who is also 2-2. Midway through the 1st quarter, Josh Love down the left side to Trey Walker, a 34-yard touchdown, and San Jose gets on the board first, 7-0. Then Cole McDonald, midway through the 1st quarter, throws it out to the right side. That pass is picked off, and San Jose is going to score a defensive touchdown, making it 14-0 in favor of the Spartans. Cole McDonald now, early in the second quarter, winds up, throwing down the right side. The catch is made by Jason M. Sharsh, a 46-yard touchdown reception for Sharsh. It is now 17-7, still midway through the second quarter. Here comes San Jose State. Josh Love pulls it down and runs. He breaks the plane for the touchdown, and San Jose is up 24-7. Still, time left in the second quarter, wide open. Cole McDonald hooks up for a touchdown, 24-14. Spartans with the lead. Josh Love now, deep down the hash marks. The catch is made right as the half expires by Bailey Gaither. And we go to the halftime break. San Jose leading 31-14. Later in the game, late in the fourth quarter, 31-21. Hawaii trailing. James Phillips makes the catch right at the goal line. On third down and goal, Cole McDonald is almost tripped up, but he runs it in for the touchdown, making it a 3-point game with 1 minute left. Hawaii has to try the onside kick, and it is recovered right off the bat by San Jose State's Jaquan Blackwell, and the Spartans prevail. They hand Hawaii their first Mountain West Conference loss of the year, so Hawaii falls to 2-3 and 2-1. And the next week, they head to Vegas to take on the UNLV Rebels. Early in the first quarter, Cole McDonald down the right side. Catch is made by Cedric Byrd, a 33-yard touchdown for the Warriors. And they jump out to a 7-0 lead. Here comes UNLV, Armani Rogers. Yes, I know Armani Rogers transferred in real life, but bear with me here. This is just year number 1. We're setting things up with this roster. It's all good. It's football. Here's Cole McDonald down the left side. After the interception in the end zone, JoJo Ward, a 66-yard touchdown, and the Warriors jump out to a 14-0 lead in Vegas at Sam Boyd Stadium. Down the right side, here come the Rebs. Armani Rogers. The reception puts him down in the red zone. Play action. Rogers is going to pull it down and run straight up the middle. He breaks some tackles, puts his hand down, and just gets to the goal line. On first down and goal, the give is to Charles Williams. He goes in for 6. They would miss the extra point. It's 14-6, Hawaii with the lead. UNLV has the ball back now. Armani Rogers cornered the end zone to Tyleek Collins for the touchdown. Rebels decide to go for 2 midway through the second quarter, and they get it. Tyleek Collins, another catch, ties the game up at 14 apiece. 2:45 to go in the quarter now. Cole McDonald trying to drop one off on the left side. The pass is undercut, and we're going the other way, and I don't think anybody's catching him. He pretty much picked it off at the goal line. He goes 100 yards the other way, and the Rebels take a 20-14 lead after they miss the PAT again. And here's Cole McDonald throwing another interception that's going to be taken to the house. Second turnover of the game for Hawaii. Both of them have resulted in UNLV touchdowns, and just like that, UNLV's up 27-14. Cole McDonald again on second down and 10, finds a receiver down the right side. It's JoJo Ward for 35 yards. Second and 14 now for Hawaii. We are early in the third quarter. Down the left side, Jason M. Sharsh makes the catch, drags a foot. And it's now 30-21. Cole McDonald and Hawaii trailing by 9 late in the fourth quarter. McDonald lets one fly. It is overthrown, incomplete, and it's turned over on downs. And UNLV holds on to win 30-21, and Hawaii has now lost 2 conference games in a row. And that is where they stand. They are 2-4 overall, 2-2 in conference. Let's look at the program comparison here. They are averaging 20,874 fans. So that is what we will be up against at Aloha Stadium. Their bowl record is 5-5. They have lost 2 in a row. They have 4 conference championships, but have not won a conference championship since 2010 when they were in the Western Athletic Conference. Cal State Fullerton, we have won 1 in a row with that win over Cal Poly last week. We sit at 2-3. And we don't have a conference championship since 1984, of course. Most of those years in between there, we didn't have a football program. All right, so here's a look at their schedule. We saw how we got to this point. Game number 7, they play Cal State, Fullerton, us, and then the rest of the way is Mountain West teams until the last game of the season when they host Army. So they've got Colorado State, at Utah State, San Diego State, and at Wyoming to finish the season. I think Hawaii could become bowl eligible. If we beat them, though, I think it's going to be tough for them to get to a bowl game. Let's look at some stats. Carl Morris, 994 yards, 4 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Jack Weldon, averaging 78 yards per game. Jamison, 47.8 yards per game. Mooney is our leading tackler. Bishop has 2 interceptions. And Patrick Kern has 7 sacks on the season to lead us. In that category, let's look at the Hawaii Warriors. We've looked at most of these guys already. Let's look at their numbers. Cole McDonald, 2,100 yards, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. So he's a little bit interception prone. We saw that in the highlights. Fred Hawley, 63.8 yards per game rushing. That's actually quite a bit for a Hawaii running back. Receiving, Cedric Byrd, 103.2 yards per game. Okiki in tackles, Okiki with 3 interceptions, and Padello with 4 sacks for the Warriors. And we will be on the road in Honolulu, and I'm giving Hawaii an 11-point edge. They are favored in this game. All right, let's look at some of the other games we'll cover around college football in week number 8, starting with North Carolina at number 25, Miami. Carolina at 3-3, Miami at 4-1. I'm going to give the Canes an 11.5-point advantage. Number 14, Auburn at number 16, Texas A&M. I'm going with Texas A&M at 4.5. Number 13, Stanford, 8.5-point favorites over UCLA. Number 10, Oklahoma, 20.5-point favorites on the road at 4-1 Kansas. Still, don't trust Kansas is going to hang in the game with Oklahoma. Duke at number 7, Virginia. I'm giving Virginia 16.5 points. Arkansas at Alabama. I think Alabama would be favored by 18.5. Arkansas has been pretty good against tough, good teams, though. Florida State at Clemson. This is the big one we've talked about so far this episode. Both teams undefeated. I'm giving Clemson 7.5 points. Colorado State at Wyoming. I'm going to go with Wyoming 2.5 in the border war. Old Dominion at undefeated FIU. I'm giving FIU 8.5 points. Akron at Miami of Ohio. And I'm giving the Redhawks 1.5 in that matchup from Miami. So those are the games we're going to cover in the final episode of this week. Up next, it's game day from the islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Cal State Fullerton at Hawaii, here on Mama's Basement Sports Gaming.